Now we need to talk about compound interest. And, depending on what book that you're using, they always make it sound like there are different formulas for different situations. And that's not entirely true. Um, what I would rather that you focus on are basically two different situations. We have what we're going to talk about first, which is compound interest, and that is interest that happens, and it'll specifically say compounded daily, monthly, yearly, hourly, annually, semi annually. Or we'll be talking about things like cost of living, things that happen one time per year. Or they'll talk about annual interest, meaning that it happens one time per year. The other situation that you'll see is continuously compounded interest, and we'll deal with that in a later video. But these are the two situations, and if it's continuously compounded, it has to say that. It has to specifically say that interest is compounded continuously. So we're going to focus on just using those two different situations. Okay, when we're talking about regular compounded interest, what this means is interest on top of interest on top of interest. So this is like if you have a savings account where you would put, say, $20 in a savings account, and then at the end of the quarter, savings accounts at banks are always done quarterly, you would get a statement that said your initial balance was $20 and you made 2 cents worth of interest, so now your new balance is $20.02. Then if you didn't put any more money in it at all, the next quarter you would get a statement that said your initial balance was $20.02 and you made 2 cents interest again. So now your balance is $20.04. It is interest on top of interest on top of interest. That's what compounding means. Okay, so when we see this, we're going to be thinking about our compounding formula first. And the compounding formula is A, which represents the amount after time, or the amount that you end up with, equals P, which is principal. This is the amount of money that you start with, times 1 plus R. R represents the interest rate, and this should always be in decimal form. So for instance, if we have a 10% interest rate, then we would write that as 0.10. So in our calculations, we work with decimals, we talk about percents. Divided by N. N represents the number of compounding periods per year. So for instance, if we compounded daily, then that would be 365 times per year. If we compound monthly, that would be 12 times per year. So that's what our N is. Now all of that is raised to the N, which again is number of compounding periods per year, times T power. Now T represents the time in years, and it has to be in years. So for instance, if they talk about having an investment for 5 years, then your T would be 5. If they talk about having an account or something for 6 months, then we would have to write that as 6/12 or 1/2. It would be 1/2 of a year. It has to be in the form of a year always. So we're going to pay very close attention to this formula, and we're going to start working some problems in the next video.